stream will begin shortly.
I don't have to clear out, do I?
No, you're okay. But it always happened. Damn. Hi, this is Henry from Playerole. Welcome to DM Talk. Tonight, it's an open forum. I'm going to talk about anything. If you have any topic you'd like to talk about, just go ahead and hit me up in the comments. In the meantime, I want to talk about what's happening tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, we have a new time, 7 p.m. Central. And, you know, I did 8 o'clock for a long time, and we're going an hour earlier. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, a lot of the guys have things to do afterwards and the next day, and, you know, they like to start a little early, and earlier, an hour earlier is a big deal. So it's join us tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central for the continuation. Well, not the campaign, it's a side story. It's a 6-part story arc called Harsh Reality. And basically, Harsh Reality is a group of individuals that are harsh, that are evil hombres. They're diabolical, a mixture of different races, and they have a mission. So tomorrow night, we're going to explain more. I'm going to explain more. And hopefully you can join us tomorrow night at 7 p.m. But tonight, it's open forum. And I want to talk about any topic. One of the biggest things that I love to do in a campaign and as a DM, when you create a story, and I'm going to do a little follow-up on a campaign structure and NPCs. And once you have everything together, what gives you inspiration? You know, we were talking about in earlier episodes, inspiration, books, movies, and so forth. But campaign structure is very important too, because you have to have some form of structure. Do you have notes? Do you use notes? Do you have sticky pads behind the DM screen? Man, I use notes. I've got stuff written behind the DM screen, plot points. You know, the story is basically on paper behind the DM screen. I have a section for it on my DM screen. I think that's kind of cool. I think when you have that type of structure, and every DM's different, whether they use notes, iPads, computers. Every DM has their own shtick. And you know what? That's great. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's all a part of not only Dungeons and Dragons role play. You have this structure, and you go in and you build this campaign, and all these ideas are flooding in, and all of a sudden, you have these notes, these sticky pads. Whatever you use, it's a tool that makes your game much better. Now, everybody has their own idea of structure. You can use a DM's guide on how to structure your campaign, but I'm giving you my idea. You could have notes. We talked about inspiration, and like I said in earlier episodes, but tonight we're going to talk about structure. What makes your campaign what it is? Your structure. Do you prep? What's your prep time? Is it 3-4 hours? Is it a whole week? Is it 2 weeks before the big game? If you have a game, the last part of the month, are you going to have, a big build up to that? Whatever you have. I mean, you could have miniatures, your notes, your campaign plot points, whatever it is. That's all part of structure. Because no matter what they say, and the books are great, you have all these professionals saying, you have to do this and that. You really don't. You really do what you think is comfortable, what's comfortable for you. Because the number one thing is everybody has an opinion, and there's nothing wrong with having an opinion. And you could follow someone's opinion and say, hey, I like that person's opinion. I like what they're saying. I like what they're talking about, and I'm going to use it. And sometimes that works. I have a lot of inspiration that I use to fuel my campaigns. I use notes for campaign structure, and I have a lot of notes. The DM screen, I use a lot of the DM screen. I use everything on the DM screen, whether it's the ability section, whatever you have as a tool to make the game structure, campaign structure, perfect. Sometimes it may not go your way as a DM. So what do? Do you have the backup? You got to keep that structure, because in a campaign, and let me tell you, it's different than having a one-shot or a side story. A side story, it is what it is. It can be a mini campaign, because that's what a side story is, or a one shot. It's one story that you're writing that people are playing for one part, or 3 parts, or 4 or 6. Harsh Reality is a 6-part arc that I created. It's a part of the Dominulus world, but in the Western Hemisphere of the world, and the players are going to be a part of that. And I always wanted a type of an anthology. And again, we're talking about structure, but I'm kind of going all over the place. But it's okay, because tonight it is open forum. So structure is what I'm talking about, and structure is very important. At least to me it is. And sometimes structure, no matter how perfect you want to be, or in your mind you want things to go a certain way, and you know that if you are prepared, how much is prep time? How much do you take? How long do you take in prep time? Your structure of your campaign, your beginning, your middle, the end of the story, that's all part of the structure. All those tools that you use are all part of the structure of the campaign. It's all the building blocks that make a campaign what it is. Now, or there's people that have DMs, referees, whatever, storytellers, GMs. It's all in the same house. Some people have no structure. They just on the fly. And you know what? That's good too, because that's how you learn to improvise in a game. You can write a plot point, evil, circle it, and go from there. And in the game, you want to do a story about an evil characters, a story about those individuals, those hombres. Now, let's say that you have no structure. You're just doing it on the fly and you're just improv, boom, boom, boom. That is a good exercise because sometimes, even if you prep, even if you have structure, you have a beginning, middle, end of the story, the players will always find a way to change what you have. And I really mean that because most people, most storytellers, DMs, referees, whatever, I'm going to grab my drink. They basically have a structure and the players kind of go their own way. So what do you do then? Hey, what's up? Hey. Thank you. So that structure is destroyed because the players went their own way. There's nothing wrong with that. When the players go in their own way, they are the spotlight. The DM is the light. The DM's behind the camera. The DM is the director of that campaign or story. Now the DM doesn't control where the players want to go. The players do that. They're the ones that are the spotlight. You have the NPCs, you're the environment, you are the background, you're the world that they meet. You're the NPCs, you're the door, you're the structure of that campaign. You're everything. And the players are traversing in your world. And as they traverse from one point to another, they meet different people, different NPCs, situations, and so forth. Now, can that structure, everything, get obliterated? Of course. Players they want freedom. Players want to go to the tavern, they want to fight, they want to pick whatever, even if they're heroes. They're going to do what they want to do. Now, tomorrow night, I'm running a 6-part evil story arc. They're not good individuals. So I've never ran something like that before. My party, my players always played good characters. So now you're going to get a story on the bad side of the character. What is wrong with these characters? What drives them? That's what I'd like to see. Now, how well are they going to do? I have no idea. I can write an incredible story, and you could have so much structure. A topic for tonight, unless somebody wants to come up with something else. You could have that structure, but the main thing, the players will be doing what they do. Now they're the drive of that story. You could, do voices, make it, have awesome descriptions, bring them into your world. But remember, the players are the spotlight. They really are. And to me, that's fantastic. That's why I love role-playing. I've been role-playing since I was 15. Since I was a young guy. I'm 52 now. So, hey, it's just, I've been role-playing a long time, so I know players are the spotlight. They're the ones that drive the story. You could have anything you want to do. You could have, the story goes into the forest, but they want to stay in a tavern and chill out. They want to go to the tavern, they want to go to the inn, they want to buy some weapons, they want to hoo-ha. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can have plot points, you can have women screaming outside of town just to bring them in. To bring them in the story. To keep them down that path. And sometimes they won't do it. But you know what? When you sit back and you watch your party laugh and have a good time. That's the key. You're right. Thank you for your comment. Hooks galore, but fish gotta bite. You're right. That's a great comment and good answer. They have to bite. They have to bite. Bring a lot of hooks, plot hooks, and they gotta bite. One of the main things that I love about role playing is the DM will have this plot hook, and all of a sudden the players are in the tavern, and this shadowy figure bursts through the door. He has, a hood. You don't see his eyes. The hood is down. The cape flutters. There's no wind, but the cape flutters. It's kind of a cool thing. You can see the hilt of his sword. He walks in. Ooh, this guy is a cool dude. He's walking in the tavern, and the players look at him. Is he evil? Is he a good guy? And those are the things that go in their mind. So as a DM, you sit back and watch the players role play. That's the main thing. Will the players take the hook? So you have a problem that I fear making railroads too much, but most players like it at least a little bit of direction. You're right. Railroading is something that DMs do, and it happens. It happens. You have your story hooks, and you're going to have this light on the right side of the tunnel. There's a lantern. The candle is flickering. The light, the room is flickering. Hey, come in here in this room. Or you have this damsel in distress. There's nothing wrong with that. Doing railroading in a positive way might be a good thing. There's nothing wrong to bring your characters in that direction. But if you have clues in the room and they figure it out for themselves, and you sit back as a DM, you're right. Making the hooks more obvious. That's it. That's the key right there. So if they know that the stories, something is about saving this damsel in distress, they hear a voice in the distance screaming, and they're a party of, lawful good characters. What do you think is going to happen? I asked my players, or player one, what are you doing? We'll make a perception roll and make the roll. I hear a scream in the distance. What are you doing? What do you think they're going to say? In your head, you want them to say, go towards the voice. But they're playing lawful good characters. So as a DM, you already have to think ahead what they're going to do. If they all go towards the voice, cool. If not, then you have to think of alternative ways. Maybe you're, like you said so eloquently, the hooks weren't obvious. Hooks are important every aspect of the game. It could be a small hook, but if that hook isn't obvious, and players will do what they do. They'll go in there and they'll be gallivanting, doing whatever, and they'll forget about the whole story. But the main thing that I love about role-playing is once you grab them and they're into the story, they're into the investigation, they see a blood trail, they may see bodies piling up, they may see something in that story that brings them in. And when they start role-playing with each other, and you're not doing anything as a DM, you're watching them role-play for 5 minutes, maybe it's 10. As a GM, DM, storyteller, you've done the right thing. You could sit back and smile. To me, that's the best moment, when the players are really getting into your story and they're role-playing. To me, that's awesome. or they love this NPC and you go back and forth. There's only options. That's perfect. I have a TTRPG I'm working on. I kind of have that problem with right large across the system as a whole. There's no hooks. There's no railroad. There's only options. That's great. If it works for you, if option base is what they go for, if that works for you, then fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Options are wonderful in any campaign or story or one shot. As a whole, the players in a game need to be enticed. It plays more like a board game than a TTRP. Oh, that sounds awesome. There's nothing wrong with a board game. If you go from there, option one, option two. I hope it works out for you. I really do. I really do. That's awesome. Are you planning on monetizing it or putting it out on Kickstarter? Because if you do, oh, you're welcome. I really hope how it works for you, because if you do put it, jot down your Kickstarter and let everybody know where to go. Well, beyond that, that's awesome. New, fresh ideas. We talked about a campaign structure. Hey man, that's awesome. It starts somewhere. Coming up with fresh ideas for a TTRPG, role-playing, whatever concept you have, a fresh idea is fantastic. There's not only Dungeons and Dragons, that's why OSRs are doing so well, and they're kicking the shit out of Dungeons and Dragons, because the OSRs are a different type of game. The working title is Cozy Witches, and it's about maintaining social obligations and casting spells. Man, that's cool. That's very cool. Like I said before, I hope it works out for you. That is fantastic. Yeah, stay with us here. Let us know how it goes. An update every other Friday on DM Talk. Let me know how it's going. Man, that's fantastic. That's what I mean, guys. Fresh ideas. Starting from the beginning and coming up with new concepts is great, because role-playing, Cyberpunk got made, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles got made. It's a role-playing game. It's not a fresh idea, but they used the animation or in the comic and they made it into a role-playing game. Great. They did Robotech. They did a whole bunch of role-playing games back in the day that you could play now. You could buy them. You can go on Amazon or find them somewhere on Etsy, whatever. You could find these role-playing games and have a good time. It's not just Dungeons and Dragons. And what I meant that Dungeons and Dragons is getting its ass kicked with all these little games is because the little games, they're different. In some way, shape, or form, they're different. It makes the role-playing sense stronger, bigger. They may be smaller in a sense, but people love them because it's not so blown up as D&D has become. Now, I love Dungeons and Dragons. Love it. I love role-playing games as a whole, but I also support OSRs. I support small press. I support people who have that drive that want to do something different. And there's nothing wrong with that. My buddy Alex with Momodai Games, he created Existential Essentials, and you could watch it, an episode. It's on YouTube. You could watch it we recorded an episode of his game. And if it's not on YouTube, I didn't record it on YouTube. I recorded it on, I filmed on Rumble. And me and Alex, his dad, and a couple of players from Playerole, we all played the game. And it's a different system. It's fast, it's fun, and Alex's game is so innovative. It's something like this, like Cozy Witches. And hopefully this works out for you, because something of this nature, something fresh and new, is what people want. That's what. There's nothing wrong with playing older games and playing older fantasies, but playing something fresh and new, a different spin on things, is always good. Let me know, when you decide to do a Kickstarter in the future. Whatever. Keep updating here. Let us know, and hopefully we'll have folks that support you as well as I will, because we need more of that. And also, guys, remember that in any role-playing game, when you create, as I said before in a couple episodes before, inspiration. This right here is inspiration. What gives more people inspiration is a new creator, or an old creator, or the creator has been creating for a long time, doing something fresh and new. That is awesome. That gives me inspiration. That gives everybody else inspiration. Okay. Okay, man. He says basically my goal with Cozy Witches was to have social obligations, have the crunch and mechanical depth of combat. Fantastic. I feel like I succeeded on the front, at least. On that front, at least. Well, you know what? Every little thing, man, every little success you make will open up doors. It will. And, man, that's fantastic. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Stuff like this is positive things, guys. You take an idea, you go with it, and you make something fresh and new. That's what it's about. There's nothing wrong with doing stuff like this. Eventually, because when I started this endeavor, I didn't know anything about cameras or mics or anything like that. I had to do my own research, and my buddy Matt, for my work, he is into music and mics and stuff, and he taught me a lot about mics. And I was using a condenser mic at first, and then I went from a condenser to a cardioid mic, which will grab all the audience. It's great, but it feels like what I've designed is a subsystem to a larger game that doesn't exist yet, rather than a full game unto itself. Well, I'll tell you what, you will know. You will know when everything is done. You will add to that and take steps. You're going to work on some portions of that game and go from there. You have good drives, man. That's fantastic. To come up with something like this is awesome. And to add to his point, I was saying that you don't have to be a professional. You could have an idea and work with it, like I did. I didn't know crap about any of this. I had to research. And this gentleman here is telling me that, hey, he has this idea, he went with it, and he's going with it. It's gonna happen for him. And that's where people have their inspiration. This gentleman's inspiration came from somewhere, and he's making it happen. And by him doing that, will give another creator inspiration. Hey, man, I want to do something too. And there's nothing wrong with that. Do it. That is the best thing ever. Man, I'm excited tonight. I'm glad we're on this topic of creating. As I said before, for me, let me ask you a question. I know enough about mics and all that stuff. Where did you get your inspiration? When you started this Cozy Witches, where did you start with this idea? Did you just wake up one morning and said, hey, I want to come up with this idea, Cozy Witches? Or did you have a group of people? Was it family? What do you think? Tell me what you think about it. Tell me what happened. How did you begin with this idea? Well, whenever he answers, I'll answer. I'll answer back. But in the meantime, I want to keep talking. And again, open forum tonight, and I'll break away from whatever you want to say. I obviously pulled from every RPG that I've played, mostly Blades in the Dark, because I'm enamored with it. All right, cool. Now, you're enamored with it. That's fantastic. Blades in the Dark. Social depth that most RPGs face. Yeah, that's deep. So you want to focus on that part of RPGs. That's awesome. Now, have you ever played Vampire the Masquerade? That's more of a social type of role-playing game. Let me know what you let me know your answer on the comments. Yeah, we're talking about. It's very GM heavy. Yeah. Now, what do you think about that one? It has a lot of social issues. You know, it has a difference between different clans and so forth. The connections they have with each other. There's a prince in the city, and that person or that individual, that vampire, controls that portion of the city and goes from there. That is very cool. We're talking about different role-playing games tonight, and I'm talking. I hope I didn't ruin your name, Babakis. Yeah, Babakis. And I'm speaking a lot of good fiction. I'm not impressed with the social combat system. You know what? Not a lot of people are impressed with the White Wolf combat system. I'm in the minority. I do like the combat system. I like the awesome. Yeah, I like the 753 1395. You know, adding your points in the different columns where they should go in your combat and your attacks and so forth. I like that you use 10-sideds. I do like that. Now, I'm talking about second edition Vampire White Wolf. Not the newer one, not Vampire Redemption. Not that one. I've never played that one. I didn't want to. But the older one I played, yeah, that has a social type of role-playing. Well, do you play... what other game have you played? All role-playing games? I mean, what other role-playing games have you played other than Vampire? Have you obviously D&D? What other games have you played? You play a lot of OSRs? Let me know here in the comments. When he comments, I'll respond in kind. But in the meantime, I got to keep talking. I don't want dead air. That space is not a good thing. Anyways, we're talking about different role-playing games, and his inspiration. Someone was making a cozy RPG setting and trying to pack it into 5e, and it was like, surely there exists a more reasonable cozy system. That's awesome. Most systems involve combat or travel. Traveling, what do you think about traveling in combat and combat? I'm trying to figure out ways for faster combat. And travel is very, very cool, but sometimes it can be a little cumbersome. What do you think about that? I think that's, to me, combat in different systems can be a pain in the ass. It has to be faster. I like personally fast combat. 5e, D&D 5e can slow you down with all the different crap that the classes have. Not like the older school games where you have less, but you're faster in doing things. You can die easier. Now you have high hit points, high AC, and so forth. You got to reduce the mechanical depth. Yeah. Like initiative. Initiative to me is a big issue. I like group initiative. But some of my players don't like the group initiative, and I'm talking D&D 5e, because they want, like the rogue, at certain levels, they have certain abilities that will use initiative to go first in their turn, or so forth. And if you don't have that initiative per player, it takes away that ability from them. I don't blame them, but group initiative is fast. Boom. They can all say what they will. Okay, you call it out. We're going to go first. Boom. There you go. Roll of a die. Whoever gets the highest roll goes. Nothing wrong with that. And group initiative, you have more strategy, really. You could you could think as a group where you want to go. Meanwhile, I'm acting, it's my turn, I'm moving the minis, or it doesn't have to be, it could be theater of the mind. I'm moving in kind, but in their turn, they're going to go ahead and be prepared for what I'm going to do. But yeah, mechanical depth is a problem. Initiative is a big problem with me. If you can reduce that, I think it'll be faster combat. And mechanical depth too, because Yep. Babika says one of the things that he succeeded in Cozy Witches was allowing all players to play their turns at the same time. Fantastic. That is great. And what that does, that eliminates initiative, that eliminates a lot of struggle. It speeds things up, because now you have more strategy, even because now everybody's moving in kind. Now you have to think about what's happening. He says he tries to improv the game to make it more role-playing. I have to sort of undo that design decision. Well, you know what? There's nothing wrong with more role-playing. I'm a big advocator of more role-play. I'd rather have more role-play than combat, but you need combat to have a little action. But you can do that in role-play in itself. He says, Babika says, because it led to players spreading out their actions and playing a part. Yep. Yeah, see, that's the thing, spreading out their actions. Well, the more you practice with that, the better it'll be, and hopefully you'll get something, you'll get some structure out of it. And then it'll be smooth, and then finally, I'll be looking for a Cozy Witch on Kickstarter. That's fantastic. That's what I'm talking about, folks. That's what I'm talking about. Inspiration, direction, structure, that's all part of the story and campaign too. You know, if you have an idea, a fresh idea, and you could play any role-playing game and say, hey, look, I'm not going to use this rule. I'm not going to use this rule. I'm going to use this. As a group, you decide, and if everybody's on for it, then go for it. So Babakis says he's adding an element that requires input from all players. That is fantastic. Again, I'm on your side, because getting that input from your players is great, because everyone has a say. Imagine you throwing a new rule in the game and not telling your players. That'll kind of piss people off, right? Hey, that's not fair. Well, yeah, it is. I just created it now. You can't do that. You have to talk it over with your players. To me, my players are like family. We do things together. Babakis says, and then we drill down to that event to sort of get away from the board gamey aspects and get into the role playing. Nothing wrong with that. Hey, and as far as the board gamey aspect, there's nothing wrong with that. It's all part of your inspiration and creation. And once you get into the role playing, now I'm interested to see how this goes, because I would love to see what type of ideas you have and so forth. Man, that's awesome. That's fantastic. Who knows? Maybe Babakis is actually a big-time creator just wanting to talk to somebody. And that's cool. That's really cool. I tell you what, one of the biggest things about role-playing is social activity, camaraderie with your friends and family. That is role-playing. And that's why role-playing when I was young, you know, people thought about it, hey, that's evil, that's not good. Now it's the other way around. It's evil back then, but now it's good, because you have a camaraderie of people and friends and family. You have connections, social groups. You have groups at school, in a library, whatever. You have people playing the role-playing game. And it could be Dungeons & Dragons. It could be any role-playing game. It could be, for example, Babakis's vision, Cozy Witches. That's great. His vision is right now, as we speak, we're talking about his vision. And that is a reality. The reality, one day, he'll have a book, a core book that people will buy, and he will be the creator of it. With how many people that he has in his group. They're the creators of it. If he's the sole creator, then fine. Oh, just one. One creator. That's fine. No, I don't. No, I don't know Wonderhome. And like I said, that person will one day have this book out, this core book, and people will buy it, and they'll tell their friends, hey, this is great. That's how a role-playing game or a game is designed and made. That inspiration is delivered to other people that love the same things that Babakis loves. Story prompt generator. Oh, okay, all right. So, okay, I got you. So it's a story prompt generator. Okay, that's cool. Is that like Perkle? I saw that on social media a couple times, where it generates a story and it goes from there. I saw that on social media. A lot of people were commenting on it, saying how good it is, and you could play one-on-one. Okay, all right. You know what? One of the things that makes role playing is, you try to either have role playing, then like you said, mechanical death, and you could have both. You just got to figure out how to blend it in. In a lot of role playing games today, I've played bad ones. I played bad role playing games. I'm not going to name what they are, but I played bad role playing games, and the game mechanics were all over the place, and they were so bad that it was boring. The character classes, the different, picks were great. The story was great, but the game mechanics sucked. You could say the same about, I'm not going to say it, what role-playing game. I'm not going to say it, but there's a lot of games out there that really are not good, but people still play them. But there's nothing wrong in taking that game that's not good and saying, hey, look, I'm going to take this out, bring this in, and make it better. And like you said, mechanical depth, that's the key word right there, because that can be, has to coincide with role play. Because if you have just mechanical depth, then you just have a board game or just combat, strategy game. If you have the role play with strategy and mechanical depth, everything together, you have a beautiful thing. You played Warhammer? I played Warhammer 40K. I've played those tabletop strategy games, but the story of Warhammer 40K is fantastic. It's fantastic. I love it to death. I played when it first came out back in the day, and it's very good, very, very good. I do like the depth. I do like the combat, the miniatures. And by the way, miniatures, painting, not my strong point, but I can do it. But it's all part of what you're talking about. Having that that role-playing experience, which obviously you want to highlight, and then having that mechanical depth. And to me, that's important. That's those two. When you have both of them together, that role-playing game, that work you have is great. It'll excel, because there's games out there where there's too much mechanics and everything else kind of sucks, or it's reverse. The story and everything else is good, but the game mechanics and everything are horrible. Now, I'm gonna get a drink here. All right, so let's say that after you're done with everything and you have your players and you're reading this new book, right? And then just switch computers. Okay. All right, that's cool. You're back. So now you have a story. You have the story, you have your players, and we were talking about game mechanics and role-playing game. Those two have to coincide. You can't have one without the other. You can, it'll just be strategy. or combat. You have role-playing, it'll be a role-playing game. Too much mechanics will drown the essence of the game. But I know people who just love, and one of my guys in the in my group, he loves miniatures. You know, he in his head he could visualize certain things, but he doesn't like theater of the mind. He'd rather just have miniatures. Or if he plays too much theater of the mind, he needs a break and he wants miniatures. And there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has their own way of doing things. But one of the main things that I love about this whole role-playing umbrella is the fact that you can do strategy. You can do role-playing in many different forms. Like I said, I just named Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They made a role-playing game from back in the day. They made supervillains. They made hero games. They made a game called Champions. Remember that? I have the book on my shelf right now. It is fantastic, all six-sided. I remember making a Wolverine type of character. You know? Claws, adamantium claws, all that type of stuff. It's a role-playing game, but it was very game mechanic. And Champions even had a video game. I've played it. It was cool. Created your own character, your own costume, your own design, how you look and stuff. You went out and saved people. Role-playing game, you created your power, you created your armor, if you had any armor, if you had any vehicles. You know, if you're like a Punisher with guns or whatnot, you created all that type of stuff. Now we're talking about the role-playing umbrella. In the beginning, I talked about game structures. We went from there. Babakis talked about his new concept that he's creating, Cozy Witches, and I want everyone here. And if you're not on, when you do get on and watch this video, to support him and his endeavors, because that's fantastic. When you create something like that and go from there, that is awesome. And one day this gentleman is going to have a Kickstarter and get big, and we're all going to support him, because that's exactly what we do here in role playing. We in this community, we all support each other. We support each other, and that's why one of the biggest reasons why I love role playing so much is the people, the community, and the people are so good with each other. I mean, I can go to a con, I can go to a store, a comic book store that has a role-playing section, and I could talk to anybody, could watch, and people are just hella fun just to watch other people, game master, DM, referee, storyteller, whatever they do, watching other people and having fun is the main thing. That's why the community is so good. And just watching the big streamers out there, you know, on YouTube, on Rumble, on different platforms, watching them go, film their shows. That's great. I love to do that too. I love video, I love mics, I love filming, so I like this type of world. So that's just me. That's my creation, my type of thing. I like to draw people in through communicating, through film, through cameras, talking that way. Would I love to do a con and talk in front in an auditorium filled with people? Hell yeah. Yes, that is one of my endeavors. One day I will do that. And it'll be a lot of fun with the guys in my group. One of the biggest, because we're almost done, but in end, I want to talk about, this is just important. Just as important as what we're talking about. We're talking about the community, the umbrella under role playing, and how good people are to each other. That is a basis of role playing. Whether it's not just the company that creates these role playing games, it's the people behind them, the hard work that they put into these games. A big thumbs up to all creators out there. A big thumbs up to the gentlemen like Babakis and so forth, because they, and I'm including myself too, we all have to just do it. What gives us our inspiration To me, I have my inspirations. You know, I go with movies and film, books, and so forth. There's people who have their own inspiration. And I talked about inspiration last episode, but we went from that to game structure to talking about creating games. And then finally, we're talking about the groups of people, the community, and how wonderful people are. I can go, like I said, I can go into a comic book store, I can go into a convention, meet people, they're walking, meeting their favorite creators and you know, talking with people, and you know what? Not one will be mean. They won't. Want to know why? Because we are under that same umbrella. Yeah, you know what? There might be snide comments or snide people every now and then. It happens. But those people, when you get down and dirty, they're going to be at a table and they're going to play and they're going to have fun and they're going to settle, and all that meanness is going to come out and it's going to be released into the character they play. Hey, thank you very much for commenting. It was nice chatting with you. Take care. I'll be done shortly here as well. Thank you. That's what I mean, guys. Let's support Babakis and his endeavors. It's wonderful to know how people are and their endeavors and what they do and the things that they create, the stories, the platforms that they have, and they bring it out to people in the public, and people will jump on it. I will. I know my guys will. And that's, like I said earlier, and I was talking about mics and cameras and so forth, and I do want to say in end that all this sums up into one thing. All you have to do as a creator, no matter if you're Babakis or whoever, if you are the biggest streamer, remember, you gotta start somewhere. Start in baby steps. You know, there's nothing wrong. You don't have to get the best camera, the $3,000 mic or whatnot. You don't have to get the biggest monitor, the biggest computer. I had a crappy ass laptop when I started, and if you watch my season 1, there's gonna be episodes that are kind of clunky. We were running and it just cut off. As it cut off, I came back and started again and continued. Had to do a separate video. Was it a pain in the ass? Yes. But I'm like a freight train. I moved, and that's what you do. You focus on you. Focus on what you want to do. Focus on your creation, your inspiration, your stories. You know, there's nothing wrong. Everybody has their own thing, but you can too. This is my thing. I love talking to people. I love people itself. I love communicating with people. I love role playing. I love telling stories. That's my thing. And if your thing is creating games, a board game, role playing and game mechanics game, whether it's vampire, superheroes, or fantasy, then do it. But just know one thing, that in the end, it's not just about you. It's about everyone under that umbrella that is the community and role playing, because everybody supports each other. That's what it's about. It started off in a basement, danky basement, where young kids rolled dice. We had a good time. We had music in the backdrop. And we imagined ourselves in a different realm, world, whatever it may be. That's role playing. That's the beginning of it. Back then it was evil. Back then, people thought, ugh, what are you doing? Go outside and play, ride your bike, do something. You're wasting your life. But no, it's not wasting your life. You're not wasting anything. You're creating, you're using your mind, you're exploring different worlds and universes and realm in a fantasy setting, in a sci-fi setting, whatever setting you want. It is the extension of your imagination. And to me, that's what I love the most. That is role playing. One of the biggest problems that we have is people don't communicate enough. In society, I was going to say. I didn't say that. One of the biggest problems we have in society is people don't communicate enough. And without that communication, there's a lot of disagreements, a lot of hate, and so forth. So come down to the role-playing community, that umbrella where people get along and have a great time and role-play. That's what Playerole is about. Playerole is not about having a fancy studio and, having all this fancy glamour and glitz. Playerole is about real people, real gamers. We're going to have a good time, and we're going to show you a great time on film. We're going to see mistakes by the DM, me. You're going to see mistakes that players make, unedited. Is streaming live can be difficult at times? Absolutely. But you know what? It's a lot of fun because you're going to see the mistakes that people do. Is it long? 2, 3, 4 hours? Yes. But you're going to see real people, real gamers. That's what gamers do. We role play, we have a great time, and that, to me, is important. That's the umbrella of role playing. The community that people go out, you go to the store and they look at each other and they talk. Hey, what's your name? I'm Tony, I'm John. Nice to meet you. Hey, you played Cyberpunk? Yeah, I have. I played Cyberpunk, I love it. You know what? I got a group. I'm starting a game. You want to join? That's how people are. I've done it before. Barely met the guy. God, we exchanged numbers. I went to the guy's house. We have a great time doing a game. Back then it was Shadowrun. Now it's Dungeons and Dragons. Now it's running different OSRs or whatever floats your boat. Back then, that's what we did. And you know what? It's fantastic. I wouldn't change that for anything. Can you just sit here and tell me that role-playing is just a board game? In essence, yes. But the main thing is that communication with other players, that fun, that camaraderie, that is role-playing. That's the essence of role-playing. I've said before, yeah, you create a character, you get into your character, all that is great, but the main thing is having people around the table and having a great time rolling dice. No, you're not playing Monopoly. No, you're playing a role-playing game, whether it's Shadowrun, Cyberpunk, Dungeons and Dragons, Vampire the Masquerade. I can name more. I've played those games and they're great. Every game, every one of them. There's games that I play that are so bad, but that's not the game. It's the people in your table. It's the people around you that make the game. It's the people that you have fun with at the table. That's what role-playing is about. It doesn't matter if you're a top-notch streamer. It doesn't matter if you're just not streaming at all, going to somebody's house role-playing. Those are the things, that umbrella, those are the things that makes a role-playing. We all talk about well, I didn't have fun last night because the campaign or the story went wrong. But you know what? You're still talking about it. You're still talking about last night's game. You're still talking about what happened in the game, whether it was good or bad. You must have enjoyed it. Everyone had a great time. We were talking about a gentleman, Babakis, who has this great idea as a creator. And that creator created a game, or that he's going to someday, throw out a Kickstarter. He's got to work on some things. And that's wonderful. That's all part of the umbrella of the community and role-playing. That's what it's about. You can say, oh yeah, video games. That's all under the same community. It is. We're a bunch of folks that love to roleplay, to love to sit around the table and play Dungeons and Dragons, Cyberpunk, Vampire the Masquerade, or whatever game floats your boat. That's what we do. We love to sit at the table and do that. Now, will I change it up a little bit every now and then? Yes, of course. Understand that the main thing about role-playing, you could have a stellar story. You could have the best mechanics. But if the camaraderie at the table isn't there, it's not going to work. The people at your table are so important. The DM could be the best DM ever. And if your players don't like each other, don't like the DM, it's going to be out of control. Just remember that. That's all I have for tonight, folks. Thank you, Babakis, for your wonderful comments. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central, new time, Playerole. We're playing villains. We're playing bad guys. We're playing evil characters. So we'll see what the party does and how they will react in tomorrow night's game. Join us tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central. Thank you. Have a wonderful night, everyone.